Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Believe and Achieve. I'm Suman Chawla, and many of you know that last year I launched my book, I released my book, Keep the Faith, Drop the Fear. This time round the corner, I'm getting so many emails, messages from readers. Many of my readers are telling me that, whenever they are sad or in despair, what they do is they just pick up my book and open it just from anywhere. And they find some solutions and some solace to to their minds, which are so disturbed. I know the pandemic has taken its toll, but there is light at the end of every tunnel. Every night has a day. We have never seen a night which has gone on and on. It's always seen the sun rise. I'm reminded of P.B. Shelley, the great poet. In his Ode to the West Wind, he wrote that if winter comes, can spring be far behind? So, friends, you always have two choices in life, always. The first one is to continue living in despair, in sadness, in disappointment, in anxiety, in worry. That is the first choice, which many of us make. The second choice is to live in optimism, live in hope, live in faith. What does the Bhagavad Gita tell us? The Bhagavad Gita's shlok says, Yatha drishti tatha srishti. You can experience it yourself. They say that if you nurture a thought in your mind, whatever it's about, it's going to grow and it's going to reflect in your life. So let's now focus on the good. I'm not saying the pandemic hasn't been a source of horror or source of trouble. It has taken its toll. We have lost a lot of people. We have, seen the worst of life. Yet life has to move on, and we have to move on. You see, so life is the greatest teacher. So maybe a few years down your life, or maybe 10 years or 20 years, when you talk to your next generation, you may narrate the incidents of the horrors of this pandemic. Wouldn't you rather leave for them a legacy where you teach them some lessons from the pandemic? There are quite a few things that we have learnt, and if we imbibe them in our lives, maybe we could uplift, we could lead better lives. Let's see, I have listed down a few things in my Chromebook, a few things that I have learned in this pandemic. Maybe when you read my blog, when you see my video, maybe you could write down some of your own in the comment section. I'd love to know. I'd love to learn. Everybody is a teacher. It's only you have to be a good learner. Now let's see the first thing that we have learned. First thing is that first lesson that we have learned is that we are actually wasting our time in endless battles for wealth, for power, for material things, because we think that these things are going to give us happiness. Now, so long as you have abundance in your mind, what I mean to say is that so long you are sustaining yourself well, you have been able to support yourself and your family, you have, you are in a job or a business or something, so you have enough to feed your family and enough to lead a comfortable life. After that, if you go on pursuing, material things like, that prized possession, maybe a new car or a new house or some shopping or a diamond, what do those things really give you? Let's just think about it for a moment. Once you have acquired it, what happens? In a few days, the craze is over. The happiness, it's not the way it was at the beginning. It's just because, such a kind of happiness when you acquire stuff, this kind of happiness is actually short-lived. It is temporary. It is transitory. It is, it just comes and goes. So the question arises, is there a real permanent happiness? Is there a permanent happiness too? We'll talk about it, because yes, the scriptures tell us there is permanent happiness and you can have it. We'll talk about it as we go along. That was the first. Now, the second lesson that we have learned from the pandemic, lesson number 2, is that we need to value not only our friends and family and neighbors and colleagues, but we also need to value complete strangers. Strangers, we have seen in this pandemic how, the common people have come forward to give away medicines and to give away their time and to give away oximeters, oxygen cylinders. We have seen oxygen langars in gurdwaras. They have really touched our heart. They have given them to the needy, to those who were suffering, and what a respite on their faces when you set out to help somebody. The happiness that you get in return, the blessings and all the wishes that you get in return, I think those are absolutely invaluable. Now, the third lesson that we have learned from the pandemic is that we are all interdependent. Nobody can live solitary. We must learn to respect each other. And we must we must not be glorifying, people in power and position and, celebrities and, people like that. I think it's more important to respect and value essential workers, ambulance drivers, grocery shop, workers, delivery boys, garbage collectors, maids, household help, all such people. I know I have missed out many. All such people are so invaluable in our lives. They have contributed to making our lives so comfortable, and we need to value them. That was the third lesson that we learned. The fourth lesson is that our needs are actually quite small. What we actually need is food and shelter and maybe some clothes. So what we do is we are kind of constantly in competition. I have to have this better than my neighbor, better than my friends, and it's like a competition going on all the time. And flaunting wealth and brands have never helped anyone. Think of those in the hospitals who were gasping for breath. Were they looking at the doctors and the medical staff? Were they looking at their PPE kits brands? Not at all. Those brands were useless at that time. So rather than wasting our time, energy and money on brands, I think we could use that money to give it away to somebody who is needy. We'll talk about this more. Next is that we are looking for happiness in all the wrong places. We thought happiness lay in movies and dinners and pubs and all such places, in bonus, in a promotion, in chocolates, flowers. No. Happiness, we know so well, now lies in giving away and helping somebody. Giving away, being a good human being, helping the one who is screaming for help. That kind of happiness is the true happiness. And the permanent happiness that I was talking about, that I have taken from the scriptures. They tell us that when you know who you are, now I don't know whether you take it as meditation, you call it meditation, you call it self-realization, you call it initiation, you call it whatever you want to. But once you sit down with yourself in the quiet zone of your mind, all the layers will start, your mind will start unraveling mysteries. The conscious and the subconscious layers will be removed one by one, and you will connect to your real true self. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg that I'm talking about. And this is not something that you can teach, because there has to be no authority in this. You can just experience it yourself. When you sit with yourself and you know who you truly are, and when you connect with yourself, That's when you can actually find the real true happiness. Now, the next one, that is number 7, the 7th lesson that the pandemic has taught us. That there is a sea of kindness and benevolence all around. We saw in this pandemic how health workers came forward, how all sorts of people came forward to help humanity. We saw doctors, of course, people in the front line, of course. Apart from that, we saw donations, charity coming in from film stars, from businessmen, from people in the corporate sector, and more importantly from the common man, the unsung heroes. Humanity lives on. That is incidentally also the name of my blog, which of course I made a long time back. The last but not the least, the 8th lesson is that it's time to give back. We must give back to society. I was sitting with my students one day in class and I was asking them, I said, students, tell me, what have you taken from society? One student started thinking, another started thinking. One student said, ma'am, we have taken respect. Somebody's, they were talking about abstract things. Of course, they are young children. They're still learning. They have so many questions on their mind. One said, ma'am, respect. One said, ma'am, values, and all such stuff. And I said to them that whatever you have around you today, whether it's your chair or your desk or your pen or your bag or your water bottle, lunchbox, whatever, this Chromebook or whatever you have today, there's a row of people behind it. That's when it came to you. The chair that you're sitting on, the wood, somebody out there went to the wood. Of course, before that, somebody planted a tree. Somebody out there went to the wood to cut the wood, whether it was through machines or with a hand or whatever. Somebody out there took a truck to load the wood. Then it went to the factory. On and on. You could go on and on like this. So now it's time to give back to society. Now, I know there are many of you who are wanting to help. I mean, a lot of people keep saying that I wish we could also help. Sonu Sood is such an inspiration. When you look at him, you have so much respect for him. And you also wish that you could help somebody. But nothing is going to happen unless we take that first step. Now, how can we take the first step? I thought about it, I discussed it, and I came up with a very easy way to do it. Maybe you have hundreds of other ways. Maybe you could tell me. I would love to join you. So I thought, we do spend a certain amount of money going out to weekends, getaways, or maybe just a dinner out, or just some shopping, or stuff like that. Why don't this week make a beginning? Because now we're not going out. And even otherwise, you could put aside a small amount. Maybe start with 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 or whatever you wish to, whatever amount you wish to. Could be much more, I don't know. Just put it aside. Once you put it aside, once you start, then the universe will join you. The universe will then connive, because you have to have that intention to help. And you will know who to give it. And when you give food to somebody whose tummy is rumbling with hunger, the shine, the glisten in his eyes, and the gratitude in his eyes, I think it far outweighs all other happiness. Let's set out to help those who are in need. There's a dearth of food. There's a dearth of medicines we all know so well. There's a dearth of, at this moment in Delhi to where I'm talking from, there's a dearth of beds, there's a dearth of oxygen cylinders, and people are gasping. Delhi is actually gasping for breath, and many other kind of cities and towns, people are gasping for breath. We have seen all those horror stories. I don't want to enumerate them again. Let's go out and help. Have that hope, have that faith that yes, life can still be beautiful despite all odds. I'm sure, friends, let's all give back to society. I'm sure we can have a much more beautiful world where people give and people love to give, and there is happiness all around and flowers are blooming all around. Do stay connected. Please do subscribe if you haven't done so. Ring the bell icon so that you can get notifications as and when I upload my videos. Thank you. Bye.